Why even working harder, earning a little more each year, and striving like never before do so many people feel like they're never making any financial progress? This is an uncomfortable, but necessary question. Perhaps you've experienced this. Your salary increases, your routine remains demanding, your responsibilities grow, and the feeling of progress simply doesn't appear. Have you ever been through this? It seems that the more you do, the further away that idea of financial security becomes. There is a very common and dangerously comfortable misconception that working harder is always the solution. A stable job, a predictable paycheck, and a steady routine provide a sense of security that calms immediate fear, but rarely build long-term freedom. Without realizing it, automatic decisions begin to repeat themselves, spending a little more because now is the time, postponing investments because it's not the right time yet, trusting that constant effort will solve everything on its own. The problem is that these choices seem normal, socially accepted, and that's precisely why they go unnoticed. What almost no one explains to you is that the blockage is rarely in income, but in the financial behavior that forms on autopilot. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may surprise you, and perhaps make you see your own routine in a new light. There's a specific point where everything starts to change, and understanding why most people never reach. It is the first step to truly moving forward. And perhaps as you listen to all this, some scene from your own life has come to mind. A raise that didn't change anything, a feeling of constant effort without real reward, or that silent question that appears at the end of the month. Where did all my money go? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far, not as an empty rant, but as an honest acknowledgement of what you're going through. When someone writes, other people read and realize they're not alone in this feeling. If at any point you thought, this is about me, consider liking this video. This simple gesture shows that this type of conversation needs to continue, because the more people interact, the more the content reaches people who are also trapped in this same comfortable illusion of working more without getting anywhere. And if you feel that this channel is putting into words something you've never been able to explain properly, subscribe to keep following along. Your participation here is what makes this space grow and reach more people with this type of content, creating a community that doesn't shy away from these silent truths about money, routine, and choices. Now, with that in mind, it's important to look more closely at those seemingly small, almost automatic decisions that accumulate day after day, because that's exactly where a lot of things start to take shape. There's a delicate point in this story that almost no one likes to face because it doesn't involve major mistakes or absurd choices. On the contrary, it's hidden precisely in the most common decisions, those that everyone makes and that are rarely questioned. Paying everything in installments to organize cash flow, increasing the standard of living at the same rate as the salary rises, keeping money idle because it brings an immediate sense of security, postponing investments with the justification that it's not yet the ideal time. None of this seems dangerous at first glance. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't generate an immediate crisis, it doesn't create alarm, and perhaps that's exactly why these choices have such a profound impact in the long term. The problem is that each of these decisions pushes that turning point, which many people expect without realizing it, a little further into the future. It's like walking every day believing you're making progress, when in reality you're just keeping busy. There's a hidden truth here. Constant effort doesn't guarantee financial progress if the mindset behind the decisions remains the same. The money does come in, but it never gets organized, never multiplies, never gains autonomy. It just circulates, always dependent on the next month, the next paycheck, the next excuse. This silent journey creates the impression that the problem lies outside, in the system, in the salary, in the circumstances. But behind the scenes, the real impact is in the repeated, almost automatic behavior that drains the future without leaving visible marks on the present. It's a comfortable, socially accepted trap that keeps intelligent and hardworking people stuck in a cycle that seems too normal to question. And the more time passes, the further away that moment becomes when money finally starts working harder than you. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because behind these choices lies a specific psychological error, a way of thinking that makes it all seem logical, safe, and even responsible. And that's where a lot of things begin to be revealed. Before that, comment below. That makes sense to me. There's a silent mechanism behind all of this that's rarely clearly explained, and it has nothing to do with lack of intelligence, laziness, or irresponsibility. On the contrary, it stems from a profoundly human logic. The brain has been trained to seek immediate relief, not future freedom. It prefers to resolve current discomfort rather than invest in a distant benefit. And that's exactly where financial behavior begins to sabotage itself without the person realizing it. Working more generates relief. Spending brings emotional reward. Going back to work seems necessary. And the cycle repeats itself, day after day, as if it were the only possible path. This mindset creates a tiring journey where effort never translates into a real sense of progress. The person feels productive, busy, responsible, but doesn't feel any transformation. There's a hidden truth in all of this. The problem isn't working hard. It's believing that only hard work solves everything. Behind the scenes of daily decisions, the brain reinforces the idea that spending now is deserved, that investing can wait, that giving up comfort today is too big a risk. And so, the future is postponed in small, invisible installments. Over time, a frustration arises that is difficult to explain. The feeling of always running, always trying, always doing what has to be done, but getting nowhere. This repetition wears down the mindset, undermines clarity, and creates the impression that financial freedom is something distant, almost abstract, reserved for other people. Not because they are different, but because they have learned, consciously or unconsciously, to deal differently with this internal impulse for immediate comfort. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when you understand how this bias works, you start to see decisions that previously seemed normal from a new perspective, and it's at this point that the cycle begins to lose strength. Before that, write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." There comes a point in this journey when something changes almost imperceptibly. There's no announcement, no celebration, no cinematic feeling of immediate victory. The true point at which money starts working harder than you is silent, and perhaps that's why almost no one talks about it. It doesn't arise from an unexpected gain, nor from a rare opportunity, much less from a stroke of luck. It is born when conscious decisions cease to be the exception and begin to be repeated consistently, even when they don't seem exciting. Spending less than you earn ceases to be a momentary sacrifice and becomes part of your mindset. Investing before you have money left over becomes automatic, non-negotiable. Consistency begins to exist even when results are not yet visibly apparent. Behind the scenes, something important is happening. The effort ceases to be merely physical and becomes strategic. The transformation is not in the initial value, but in the accumulated impact of these decisions over time. That's when money slowly begins to gain autonomy. The curious thing is that for a long time, the feeling remains one of stagnation. The routine continues, the work continues, and nothing seems spectacular. But there's a hidden truth in this process. While almost everyone gives up because they don't see a quick return, those who remain consistent are building something that no longer depends exclusively on their own effort. And when this turning point finally becomes perceptible, it surprises precisely because it wasn't dramatic. One day you realize that the returns already ease decisions, reduce pressure, create options. It wasn't a leap, it was a journey. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding this moment clearly completely changes how you view simple everyday choices. Choices that seem small, but that define whether this turning point will arrive sooner or continue to be pushed away. Before that, comment below. That makes sense to me. Perhaps the most liberating part of all this is realizing that this turning point doesn't require extreme actions or a life of endless deprivation. There's a common belief that to truly change, you have to cut everything out, say no to any pleasure, and live in constant tension. This idea scares people, alienates them, and in practice makes many give up before even trying. But real transformation happens elsewhere. It begins when automatic decisions give way to intentional decisions, made with awareness and purpose. It's not about eliminating comfort, it's about better choosing what deserves a place in your life. Small changes in behavior, almost imperceptible at first, begin to generate an impact that accumulates over time. Adjusting priorities, creating simple rules for your own money, deciding before, spending and not after. Behind the scenes, something changes in mindset. Money stops being treated as what's left over at the end of the month and starts being seen as an active tool with a clear function within your journey. This clarity creates a powerful effect. You don't feel like you're punishing yourself. You feel like you're organizing yourself. You don't live in eternal sacrifice. You live in a sense of direction, and the more these decisions are repeated, the more the effort begins to diminish in relation to the results. The silent cycle of working, spending, and repeating begins to lose strength, giving way to a different feeling, that of control. Not rigid control, but conscious control, which gives back choices and reduces anxiety. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when you understand how to align simple decisions with a more strategic mindset, you realize that this tipping point is neither distant nor inaccessible. It simply requires consistency and intention. Before that, write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." If you've made it this far, it's because some part of this conversation resonated with you. Perhaps not as a ready-made answer, but as a reflection that kept echoing. And that's exactly the kind of content I want to continue bringing here. Sincere conversations about money, decisions, and mindset, without magical promises, but with clarity and real usefulness. If this made sense to you, subscribe to the channel to keep following along. This space only exists and grows when people who think like this decide to stay. If you feel like it, leave a comment saying so. This message was for me. It's a simple way to show that you've made it to the end and to strengthen this exchange, because many people read the comments and recognize themselves in them too. And if at any point you felt a connection to this journey, a like helps keep this kind of conversation alive and reaching more people who need to hear it now. There's a video over here that complements this topic and delves even deeper into this logic of decision-making and transformation. Click and continue reading there.